In this conversation I have with Joe Orton, we talk about the biggest metabolic problems facing Americans right now, and it's insulin resistance. We get into fasting, GLP-1 drugs, autophagy, cravings, and simple daily habits that can completely change your health. If you're new here, hit subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes like this, and consider sharing it with someone who could also benefit. Thank you very much and enjoy the show. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Health Movement Podcast. I'm Derek, your host, a teacher of over 20 years and a certified personal trainer. I have an awesome guest with us today that I know we'll get a lot of good information out of. But before I introduce him, just want to reiterate that we are not doctors. So before you go changing any programming or nutrition or anything like that, please consult with your physician. Now that that's out of the way, Joe Orton is with us, and he likes to just call himself a regular guy. And him and his wife, their goal is to just help everyday normal Americans feel better and take control of their lives. So, Joe, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, very welcome, Derek. I'm excited to be here.
Now, Joe's a Vegas native, but he's a New England fan. So we definitely started off on the right foot with that one. So Pats are playing well. Celtics will eventually get there, but at least we got the gridiron to fall back on. So that's
absolutely. One caveat there. I am from Utah, so I am a Jazz fan, diehard Jazz fan, and still have season tickets, but we're now in Vegas, spent some time in New England, so go Pats, go Sox. I just can't do the Celtics.
Okay, I can't get upset with you for that one. You do have Danny Ainge still. Is he there still?
Yep, Danny in Austin.
Crazy trades, but that's all right.
We need one.
How did you and your wife get started? You said beforehand, before we started recording, that you guys had kind of an awakening.
Yeah.
And I'm curious. That obviously piqued my interest. What was that awakening? Can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, how much time do we have? Like, that's a loaded question. But I'll start.
It was a big one.
I'll give you the Reader's Digest version and start 10 years ago. So. Okay. My wife and I, we've got 3 sons, and we just felt very prompted and inspired to go to Australia. I had a job offer. We moved our family, sight unseen. We took a bunch of suitcases and moved to Sydney. And we still have a lot of friends there that we call family. We love Australia. And it completely changed our life. We're seeing the other side of the world, different perspective, how different people are, yet how similar people are. And it changed our family's life. And as much as I loved Australia, it just wasn't a good fit for my job. I didn't like it. And that was coming to an end. So I was, looking at new opportunities and networking back with some friends in Utah. They're known for Silicon Slopes and a lot of tech companies. And one of my friends reached out to me and said, "You need to talk to these guys. I've got some friends in the Middle East." And I told them I wasn't interested. But long story short, we moved our family from Sydney to Dubai. And we lived in the Emirates for 5 years. And that's really where our journey really started. I started working for...
Is it as beautiful as I hear in Dubai?
Yeah, I miss it. I love Dubai. We lived on the Palm Jumeirah. Our backyard was the beach and the skyline. And the weather's amazing. And the people are great. And you can get to 2/3 of the world in a direct flight 6 hours away.
Wow.
So we loved it. And that's where I started working for the company that changed our life. So this company, actually, Unicity, I took a role with that company in the Middle East and started helping people on that side of the globe fix their health, really take control of their health. Because most people are, I like to say, we're victims of big food and big pharma. We just go about our day. We watch advertisements. We buy things that are marketed to us, and we're constantly eating, and we're constantly sick and addicted, and we're constantly prescribed. And we have, more technology and more money than ever, and we have the worst health ever.
That's true. That is, and so, it's getting worse too. It's not heading in the right direction.
It is. And I think you're going to see more and more of that. But I'm helping people on that side of the world take control of their health, and build a business around it. And meanwhile, my wife has struggled with her own, she had depression and anxiety since she was a young girl. Since she was 14 years old, she had gone through some struggles. She had cysts on her ovaries, and then it just kind of spiraled from there. She kind of felt like a guinea pig to the medicine world. Just try this, try that. Oh, and now you need this. And she tried everything. And we moved all around the world, 3 different countries, different doctors, different prescriptions. Let's check this, let's check that. And it was always the line of fine, like, you're fine. It's just anxiety, which just pissed her off because she's like, I don't want to hear that. Like, just find out what's wrong with me and cut it out of me. And, this whole time I was introduced to this protocol that's helping people take control of their health with just food. And she's like, no, I don't think that'll work for me. It's too hocus pocus. It's too woo woo. And so
Yeah.
she kind of was against it, even though I had access to this protocol for a long time. And now fast forward again, this company starts taking off on social media in the US. And so they asked me if I would relocate our family back to the US. That's what brought us to Las Vegas.
All right.
And we needed more manufacturing. So I was in charge of setting up this office. I'm actually in it right now. It's the size of a Costco. And they're producing products all day, 24/7, just to keep up with demand. And that's when I finally told my wife, just try this. Like, people are changing their life quickly, safely, and naturally. And so she did it to prove me wrong. And this was about 2 years ago. And so because she did that, our life has completely changed. So 2 years ago, she got off all of her prescriptions. She worked with her doctor anyway, she feels like $1,000,000. She used to need a couple naps a day. She was always complaining about her gut issues. She was complaining about her hair falling out in the shower and skin tags. And she just was always feeling gross. And now she's like the Energizer Bunny and a different person. And it's completely changed our life. And so that's kind of what woke us up to helping other people do the same, because she's not the only one. Millions of people are in her same shoes and worse. And they just don't know why or how to get out of that.
So when you said, um, obviously she was having some issues, what was there aside, like, was it a specific type of food that was the root issue, or is she now like consuming more things that help stabilize the gut health and lower insulin and all that sort of thing? Like, well,
Yeah.
can you kind of explain that piece to us a little bit?
Yeah. Great question. So again, this protocol is helping people lower your insulin levels and blunt the blood sugar impact when you do eat. So the first step to this protocol that she is on is just going without food. That's an age-old medicine. Fasting is one of the oldest medicines that we have that people kind of, push away from now because it doesn't make money. Fasting's free.
How long does she go with? Is this intermittent fasting, like
Yes.
eating an 8-hour or 6-hour window? And
Yeah, so intermittent fasting, and again, I'm not a doctor, like you said, and there are certain strategies for this that are effective. We basically can do whatever we want. Women have to be careful and fast according to their hormones and their cycle. And we were just at a conference in Orlando where some of the best doctors like Cynthia Thurlow and Ben Bickman and Jamie Seaman were talking about this. Again, so go follow them for when to fast. But she would go in the morning, she would do intermittent fasting. So until, again, the cycle, she would change it up and eat in the mornings that she should. But she would sip on this yerba mate. This yerba mate comes from South America, and it crushes the food noise. It's basically like a natural Ozempic. And so when you drink this, you're not craving food. It's got a naturally bitter taste, and it clears brain fog, and you have a lot of energy. So it helps people do the fasting, which is the hard part. Everyone knows, like, oh yeah, I bet I would feel better or lose weight if I just stopped eating so much. Yes, but it's hard. So the mate makes it easy to go, skip breakfast or skip a meal or just skip snacking. If all anyone did was skip snacking, their life would change. So that was the first part of the protocol. And the second part of the protocol is she started having this fiber matrix. It's just a patented blend of fibers that she has before every single meal. And this creates like think of like a balloon in your stomach, like a gel-like balloon that encapsulates the food and prevents a lot of the glucose from even going into your blood sugar. So they have studies from the Cleveland Clinic, the University of Sydney, BYU, UNLV, Stanford, showing that this reduces the glucose impact by far. And a lot of times, that's what's really killing people is the constant blood sugar spike means a constant insulin spike to lower that, which leads to inflammation and cravings and fat gain, and then on repeat. And so she started doing this, and over a matter of a couple months, got off all those medications after 25 years of trying everything. And now her mission, and including mine, like she's done so well. So she started just sharing her story on social media, Sheridan.shares. And so she's, super inspirational and everything to me. But because of that, she started building a pretty substantial following and business around it. And that gave me the freedom in earlier this year to quit my job and do this full time with her.
Oh, nice.
So
That's gotta be
that's
fun to do together, and especially if it's benefited both of your lives so much, it's not really it's work, obviously, but there's a meaning behind it, there's
exactly.
definitely purpose.
Yeah.
So
So that's what, so that was a long answer to your question, but that's why we're doing what we're doing. So we're helping other people, again, take control of their health. And really it comes down to stop eating so much and get more fiber. Most people don't get nearly enough, and we're consuming 60 to 70% of our foods are processed, coming in bags, boxes, or drive-throughs. And it's led to just some crazy viral videos we're showing to like help people understand how bad it is and how simple it is. It's not easy to take control of your health, but it is so simple.
it is, you're right, that's an excellent distinction between easy and simple, because it's not rocket science here.
Yeah.
Um, the just look at the ingredient list, especially like if you look at what we have now, and then 40 years ago, 30 years ago, McDonald's fries are very different than even they were back then. So
Yes.
it's huge. So yes, simple but not easy.
Well, and
But
on that note, sorry to interrupt. The
yeah,
the
go.
McDonald's, I pick on them a lot. I've had a couple videos get 20 million views just off of a Big Mac experiment that I did. This started last December, and I bought it, and it's still in my kitchen. It hasn't aged a bit. There's no mold, and real food rots, whether it's healthy or not. We're not here to debate the health of McDonald's. Obviously they've changed how they make food, and it's gotten worse, but it's still that's going to spike your insulin. But I've done some comparisons that actually Brett Weinstein and Joe Rogan were just talking about it on their podcast,
Oh, really? That's
talking
awesome.
about my Big Mac videos. And, I've done some experiments even with a friend in Japan doing the same thing, and his Big Mac rotted. So now we're at a problem where it's not even a McDonald's problem. It's a US problem. It's
Yeah.
a country by country problem where if this isn't rotting, what's it doing? All these chemicals and ingredients that you can't pronounce that you're consuming. Number one, you're not getting nutrients, but number two, like, no wonder we're so sick.
And I did see those videos. I think that's how I first, recognized you and
Yeah.
got in touch with you. And your buddy from Japan too. I remember seeing that one, and you're right. It's not necessarily a McDonald's problem. It's a US problem, and
Yeah.
it what's allowed in the foods. And there have been changes, in restrictions on what certain additives are allowed, but it's not enough.
Not even
We definitely
close.
have
And,
a
and
ways to go.
that's what excites me and scares me about this Maha movement. It's wonderful, but like Bobby Kennedy can't wave a magic wand and make us healthy. I love
No.
that we're getting rid of dyes and ingredients that have been banned in Europe forever, and we're just catching up. But again, the reasons why these companies have done this, I mean, Big Tobacco bought up Big Food decades ago, and their scientists have made these things so addicting, they've got it down to a science to make us buy more. That way, I mean, every aisle in the grocery store is virtually bad for you. It's all the same stuff, stripped of
Yeah.
fiber, full of crap that's going to harm you. And even if Bob got rid of all that, you still you still have to take control of your health. If your great grandparents don't recognize it as food, guess what? It's probably not food.
Yeah. And I think that McDonald's burger thing really, like, I immediately wanted to go out and buy one and replicate it. And I don't know, after talking to you, I'll give it a go too. They just put
Yeah.
a Wendy's down the street.
Oh man.
And my son's a fan. So I'm trying to every now, like, in moderation, whatever. It's every now and then I guess it's not going to kill you, but
Yep.
you can learn how to make similar things that taste just as good, and they're not like that.
Right.
They're a lot healthier. And I found myself following a few different people, and it's just you make it yourself, and instead of like a burger bun, you get a
Yeah.
sweet potato, mix it with an egg, and throw it in a a grill press, and there's your bun, and
Yeah.
it tastes fantastic, and it's just an egg and sweet potato,
Yeah.
so
I do love that. And we even showed too on one of the Big Mac videos. Again, I'm not just doing Big Mac experiments. I'm talking about a lot of other stuff, but we compared it to a Five Guys. It's fresh, real ingredients, and it rotted, and it was disgusting. But then my point was, even that, like if all you're eating all day is a Five Guys, that's probably not the best thing for your health with the bun and the carbs and all that. And so the point of my wife and my mission is we want to help normal people. That doesn't mean you're never going to have your favorite food ever again. You're never going to have sugar again. That's not the point. Is it gives you food freedom. So when you're doing these things, when you're keeping your insulin low by skipping snacking and then having fiber before your meals, you can afford to have, like your son can have that, Wendy's treat every now. You can afford to have, we like to have a big bowl of ice cream on the weekends. That's our treat. But again, if you're protecting your body, it's easy for your body to perform as it should. And so again, there's so much now that we just can't even avoid. And I mean, in a perfect world, we do make every single bun out of sweet potatoes, but like
yeah,
you still sometimes don't have that option.
no, that's very true. But there are things you can do to make it easier. And I know not everybody can meal prep all the time and fill your freezer with, all these pre-made things that
Yeah.
are healthy for you, but there are definitely times you can do it. So if you're a little, if you get away from that instant gratification and just plan a little bit, you spend
Yeah.
an hour, you can make a week's worth of food. And then if something comes up, you can spend, half hour, run to the store and grab something that isn't the best for you. But like you said, there are ways to counter that. And as long as that's not your everyday, then you'll be all right in the long run,
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, and it's funny too how some people don't understand the order of your food matters. Like your grandma saying, always eat your veggies first. She said that for a reason. Because when you're packing fiber and proteins in your stomach first, the carb absorption is far lower. And so, like to your point with food prep, our boys, this is something that's exciting to us. Is we've got 3 teenage boys, and they go through a lot of food, but they don't do what we say; they do what we do. And so now they're understanding this, and jumping on board with meal prep with a bunch of hamburger and brown rice. And so when they get home from school and they're starving, instead of chips and granola bars, that's what we used to do in our house. That's what
Yeah.
normal people do, I would say, in America, quote unquote normal. But now they'll take out that beef packet and the rice, and they'll put on some salsa and cheese and sour cream, and like they're making a snack that's going to have a good amount of fiber and protein, and that way any carbs that come after don't have that big of an impact. Like the glucose goddess, she's on Instagram, and she's always showing like, hey, if you have pasta and broccoli, if you eat the pasta first, you're going to have a huge spike. But if you eat the broccoli first, the spike won't be as large when you do eat your pasta. So simple things like that matter, and no one cares anymore. We're just constantly glued to screens and advertisements, and we're the
Yeah.
first generation ever where we're really not thinking.
So would that be one, if somebody wants to make a quick, simple change, is that something easy where it's like, all right, just eat the veggies first, eat the protein, and then eat the carbs? You don't even have to
100%.
change what you're eating, just change the order?
100%. And I got to give a quick shout out to this last week. We were in Orlando. We did the Spartan race and went on a cruise with a bunch of the top metabolic scientists on earth. So Ben Bickman, Jason Fung, Nick Nuboisi, aka the fittest doc, Jamie Seaman, aka Fit and Fabulous, and I mentioned Cynthia Thurlow, Carlos Jaramillo, Paul Reynolds, Nina Teichels, all these doctors. One of the key things they kept talking about was it's not a matter of calories in and out; it's a matter of keeping your insulin low versus high in the order of your food. Yeah, if someone doesn't do anything other than change the order of their meal and have fiber and protein first, they're going to see results. But they also focused on protein because that's the building block for muscle. And the more muscle you have, I mean, your muscle absorbs 80% of the glucose you consume. So the more muscle you have, the less sugar is impacted on your body. And the more protein you eat, the less carbs you need. You're not going to crave as many. If you focus on getting a lot of protein at the beginning, you're not going to be wasting on these empty carb calories. And that's what most people do. They're just eating in the wrong order. So if you have carbs, you're going to be hungry immediately after you stop eating.
Yeah, 100%. And I was going to ask about the resistance training, because I noticed you reference that a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and the importance of it. So aside from the order that you eat your food, we need muscle.
Yeah.
Not only does it help with metabolism, that it helps with, as you get older, it helps prevent injury because you're strong enough if you fall or something in that regard, your muscle protects you. But in terms of resistance training, would you recommend everybody, regardless of age or gender or anything? Well, obviously not a 5-year-old bench pressing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So would you recommend that for everybody?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so this is one of the things that stood out for me the most last week's, the convention that we were at. Dr. Jamie Seaman, she talked about how muscle is so key. And again, she's helping women primarily. And she says the biggest myth is that little girls aren't taught to build muscle. Little girls are taught to run more and eat less and be dainty and skinny and petite. And she's like, that's the worst thing you can do. This goes for guys too. But she said, women, especially though, if you teach girls to build muscle at a young age, you're going to get strong, you're going to get toned, you're going to look better, feel better, be sexier, all those things. You're not going to get big and bulky. That's a myth. If the only way to get big and bulky is to do testosterone and steroids, which good luck with that. But she said, so many people say, well, I'm 60, I'm a grandma, it's too late for me. And she says, no, it's not. Just do some simple resistance bands, some squats. If you do, again, squats after your meal, do a bunch of squats or take a 10-minute walk around the neighborhood after every meal, and your glucose spike reduces dramatically. So again, that's what leads to cravings. That's what leads to inflammation. That's what leads to fat storage. And that's what continues that repeat cycle of bad habits. And so if you can blunt that by doing these little things, it's going to make a huge impact. So building muscle is huge. Dr. Nick, the fittest doc, and then Dr. Jamie, they talk about that all the time. You should just be building muscle. And the way to keep that muscle is by eating protein. And, there's what's scary to me, this is a little bit of a tangent, is right now, America is taught about so many different shortcuts. Like they're saying, oh, Derek, you can eat whatever you want, Wendy's all day, snacks all day, and you just have to take this shot. And these shots, the Ozempics, the Monjaros, the Wegovys, this is a foreign GLP. And yeah, do they work? Yes, because they suppress your appetite, but at the risk of thyroid cancer or stomach paralysis. And the scariest part that most don't talk about is 40% of the weight loss is actually bone and muscle mass.
Yes.
And when you lose that, especially if you're mid-age, especially if you're a woman, you're not getting it back. And so our protocol, and just following you, Derek, like people can learn how to build and maintain muscle mass. And there's natural ways to increase your GLP-1, and it's just most people want shortcuts. There's just no such thing as a shortcut. That's why I said at the very beginning, like it's not easy, but it's very simple. And once you have that momentum, it gets easier and easier and easier.
I think one thing, and I love that you said all that, there is no shortcut. Like if you're taking these things, yes, the number on the scale will go down.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, your body composition is not going to be what you want it to be because
Mm-hmm.
you lose muscle and you're not getting it back, like you said. But then after you come off it, unless you're going to be on it your whole life, and who knows what that's going to do to you, what do you do then? Because you're going to go back to eating the way you used to, but now you have 40% less muscle.
Yeah.
So you're going to be building a lot more fat and it's not going to go well.
Well, to your point, you'll actually be mathematically fatter than ever because the weight will come back. Your fat cells will get bigger. You'll be the same number on the scale, and you'll have 40% less bone and muscle mass. So you'll be worse off than ever. So, and then again, some of these, like you see the Ozempic face, the sunken in, you can't get that back unless you go get plastic surgery. And then again, there's risks on that. And people start looking like lions and tigers.
Yeah. And I think once people understand it's a long game, we're not looking, yes, we want to, like, you got a wedding coming up, whatever it is. I need to lose X amount of weight in whatever, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. But what do you do after the wedding's over? Like, if you don't learn and understand how to be healthy, how to eat healthy, how to live an active lifestyle, like, there's no quick fix. There's no diet that's going to work. None of that. If you understand that, all right, if I can lose a pound a week, that's it. Half a pound a week. Even that is fine. Over the course of a year, if it's a half a pound, you lost 26 pounds. In 2 years, you're down 52 pounds. 2 years goes by in a blink of an eye once you get to our age. Like,
Right.
it's fast. And you can't tell me if you look back in 2 years from now and you're down 50 pounds, that's done the right way. You're not going to have that drawn face. You're not going to have as much loose skin, but you're going to have muscle and you're going to keep it off because you've developed the habits you need in order to live that
Yeah,
healthy lifestyle. So the number on the scale, not important. Not
absolutely.
important.
Well, and you brought up like the loose skin too. There's actually some really cool studies of people when they do fasting properly. So you have autophagy kick in.
Yep.
Your body
Sorry, can you
literally,
just explain what autophagy is quickly for the
yeah.
listeners?
I mean, it literally means self-eating. So, it, I actually just did a post today talking about the 2016 Nobel Prize winner was this Japanese scientist talking about
I saw that.
autophagy, but
Yeah.
this is nothing new. This is ancient medicine. You know, our ancestors used this for survival, but we've gotten away from it because of bad incentives. But autophagy really kicks in when you give yourself your body a break from eating, from digesting constantly. The reason why it never does is because we're constantly eating, but it starts kicking in, around 18 hours or so. There's some mild effects there, but if you go longer, so twice a year I actually do a 96-hour fast. If you want to join me, I'm doing it right after Thanksgiving. But this is where you get the real benefits of autophagy. It kicks in, 36, 48, 72, 96. You can look it up. There's different stages of the autophagy effectiveness, but this is where your body gets rid of those bad zombie cells, those bad proteins, the bad mitochondria. And so the thing of it is too is these bad cells, they're not just sitting there; they're infecting your good cells as well. And so your body goes through this cleanup process. Think of it like spring cleaning, and it gets rid of them and rebuilds new one. You have clearer skin, sharper focus, more energy, HGH. You know, you feel like a young buck again. And so I do this twice a year. Yeah, you'll lose some weight, but the whole point of it's not for weight loss, it's for cellular rejuvenation.
And how all right, a couple things on that. Number one, you gotta know how to do it right. Don't anybody listening, don't just stop eating for 96 hours. You
Correct.
there's a protocol, and I'll
Correct.
ask you about that in just a second. But how how do you feel after that 96 hours? Like,
Oh
what
man.
can you go through your and even during it, like, how's
Yeah.
that feel?
So the hardest part's the first 24 hours. Like you're gonna get hungry and you just gotta push through that. So I have a few hacks. Like you said, you've got to do this correctly. You've got to hydrate. I truly do an autophagy fast, so I'm not consuming calories. I will take some electrolytes, get that salt, magnesium, sodium, potassium that your body is, getting rid of. And if you don't, it's going to pull it from your bones.
Yeah.
But and then I sip on this yerba mate again, which gives me that natural caffeine and energy throughout the day where I'm not thinking about food. But once it kicks in around that 24 to 36 hours, once I get past that, then I start feeling ketones. Like I literally can feel like a pulsating going through my like throat for some reason, but it's like your brain goes on fire. Dr. Ben Bickman talks about this all the time that ketones are actually the brain's preferred source of fuel. But we rarely get to the stage where you're producing ketones. So you
Yeah.
that's a whole nother rabbit hole for you. But this is basically your body takes your stored fat and it so starts eating your love handles for lunch. Like these ketones are what's fueling your brain, and so you have a surge of energy. Um, you don't need as much sleep. Like you just wake up and you're like ready to go. And like when I get to the end of the 96-hour fast, I'm always like cooking food, and it just smells amazing. And I know like I'm at the end. Like there's no way I'm not going to eat this meal, but I always feel like I could go longer because once you go in this stage, like you can keep going and going and going. Oh, and this is I brought this up because you mentioned the loose skin. Like there's this guy again when you do this correctly, like that loose skin, your body eats up those old cells, and so when people lose too much weight too fast, that's what leaves all the loose skin. But
Yeah.
when autophagy kicks in properly, again, like you said, there's a lot of preparation for this. Don't just blindly start it. Your body really cleans up itself at the same time as losing weight. Like weight loss is just a side benefit. The real benefit is all the cellular rejuvenation. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean, man, we could talk about autophagy. We could talk about fasting for a long time. I was first inspired to do this with one of my friends telling me he did it, and I thought he was crazy. This is just
Yeah.
like 3 years ago. But he told me to watch Limitless. It was this show on Netflix with Peter Attia
Oh,
and
y-
Chris Hemsworth,
yeah,
and they
yeah.
were doing these challenges. And I watched the one on Hemsworth did a 96-hour fast, and it was just fascinating. And obviously, I'd love to look like Chris Hemsworth, but like you know, that's really what pushed me off the edge of trying that. And I thought, like, if he could do this, like I saw him struggling through it, I'm like, I could do this. And then I did it, and it just gets easier and easier. And now, like, I'm excited to do one here. And, like I said, Sunday after Thanksgiving, I usually find I'm eating quite a bit after Thanksgiving. So
Yeah.
that's a good time to do it. And then it kind of helps me go into the Christmas holidays a lot easier.
So what are there, like, obviously we got to do that right. Is there some, like, is there someone to follow, or is this like you call your doctor and say I want to do this? Or I mean,
Yeah.
I can imagine many doctors are like, yeah, do a 96-hour fast. That'll be a good thing. But
Yeah.
how do people get this done right?
Man, so I have a playlist of, my journey over the years doing it. So I have a fasting playlist. You can follow me there. Or um, Peter Attia. Dr. Peter Attia is
Yeah.
awesome. He's awesome. I would also, boom, exactly.
Over. Yep.
So just Google Peter Attia fasting or autophagy. I would follow Dr. Ben Bickman. He's the number one insulin sensitivity doctor that I know, and he's big on fasting and, yerba mate and the ways to make this easier and to do it properly. But they've always said you want to have a lot of people kind of do it wrong where they're like, oh, this is my last chance to have all those cookies or ice
Mm.
cream. Like, you want to go into a fast with as much protein and fiber as possible, and then when you break your fast, Dr. Bickman often talks about breaking your fast is just as important as the fast itself. So after this, you don't just reward yourself with a bad diet. You want to
Yeah.
ease your way back in. So an hour before you actually have food, it's very important to sip on some miso ginger soup that you can get for, $2 at Trader Joe's, or bone broth. There's some
Bone
great
broth. I was
bone
going to
broths
say
that are
I've heard that.
amazing,
Yeah.
and get your body, acclimated to having food again. And then you just want to ease your way. Don't overeat. Have some veggies, have some softer foods. You can have some chicken. I've had steak, but a lot of people are like, "Oh, don't do steak, you're going to die." Like, I haven't died, but like, you want to make sure you're easing your way into it. Berries, yogurts, fermented food, sauerkraut, kimchi. That is all amazing for you. So take advantage of a completely reset metabolism, because once your body's gotten rid of all these bad cells, you know, it's in this mode, and you ease back into a diet, and what's it going to do? You have the highest grade quality ingredients going into your body to then rebuild even further. So again, you're going to once you get back into the gym and your energy starts, coming back, or your normal routine start coming back, you're taking advantage of a reset metabolism, and you're building better than ever. You're feeling better than ever. So that doesn't mean never have sugar again. Again, we're going into Christmas. If someone, hands me a sweet after dinner, I'm probably going to take it still. But like, I'm not going out of my way to go, where are the Oreos, or where, I'm not going to go hunt
Yeah.
down bad food.
Now, I imagine 2 things. One, your body, like, literally you're starving, but the cells, your muscles, everything are just going to absorb everything you put into it eagerly. I don't know if there's a higher absorption rate or anything like that, but I imagine that period, if you choose to, refuel yourself with the right food, the benefits of that are going to be incredible.
Huge.
Like you said, it's a reset and it sucks everything in.
Huge. And even little things too, like your taste buds can change in as little as 14 days. Your cravings will change. Sweets that, like, my wife and I joke, we used to go through a sleeve of Oreos like almost every night years ago. It was just something we did. Like, kids are in bed, we can just relax. And now they just taste too sugary. They're too sweet, and we're craving better foods. Like, my wife used to never have tomatoes and vegetables on her burgers. She was like a little kid, and now she craves that. So like, little things like that, you'll want to eat better. So you've got this vicious cycle of bad, and you've got this virtuous cycle of good. When you're in those cycles, it's hard to get out of them. But if you can get yourself out of that vicious cycle into the virtuous cycle, it's easy to stay in there. And then,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you put in, and another thing you said where it's like, it's not easy, I would imagine.
Hmm.
Um, But if that's something you can accomplish, now going forward, you know you can do it again, and then you can apply that mindset to almost any, like, you go 96 hours without food, that's no joke. So the next time something difficult comes up, you're like, "I did that fast, like, I can do this.
Yeah,
I can do this too." So I feel like even with the autophagy in this, how it helps your body out, there's so many other benefits, I would imagine, in doing difficult things that are beneficial to you.
for sure. And that's actually a huge part of it too, is reminding myself that I can do hard things. Like that's something our boys, we're trying to create that culture and desire, have it be their idea, not ours. So like, we're always hiking. We're trying to visit new countries constantly. And last Christmas we went to Guatemala and hiked this volcano called Acatenango. It's like 13,000 plus feet, and it kicked our butts. But like we're showing them like how rewarding this is when you're looking down on another live volcano spewing lava. Like it was so cool. But like hiking the Grand Canyon, hiking or and wherever we were at, like reminding them like you can do hard things, you can do this, because again, life's gonna kick your butt.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not, life is though, it's how you react to that. Like that's where people are made. And so that is definitely a good, I think, motivator when you do something like this. And it makes it easier when someone, maybe someone is offering you, hey, there's donuts in the office today. You'd be like, nah, I don't need that. I don't even want that.
I will say, you mentioned ice cream, and that's my Achilles heel, and I got a Ninja Creamy, so I've been making my
Nice.
own, which are much better for you, but my favorite thing I made in it, and I hadn't made it for probably a month or 2,
Yeah.
and I forgot, I cut up pineapple, I cut up mango, and I put coconut water in, and that's it.
Oh, sounds good.
It's so refreshing and light, but it's sweet enough where it fills your cravings. It takes care of that, but I don't feel bad after, like, I just feel energized.
Right.
But that's my favorite. I've got
Love
3
that.
more in the freezer, so I'm ready to go.
We like, those Fairlifes, throwing that
Yep.
into the creamy, or the Ninja is awesome. And then for whatever reason, I just like that plain vanilla from Costco. They do a good job. And then I just sprinkle some cocoa, just some raw cocoa on it.
Oh,
Because again, it's bitter. It's not too sugary, but it flavors it. That's what me and my wife do. We'll do that, throw on some
well, not
peanuts
again.
or like some peanut butter protein mix.
Yep.
Um, but again, it's all, even Dr. Bickman told me too, like he is a machine himself because he practices what he preaches. Same with Dr. Nick Naboise that I mentioned, but he's like, I still have a pint of Ben and Jerry's on the weekend. I reward myself. I'm in ketosis all week long. When I decide to go out, again, this a decision to do it. Like I'm enjoying date night with my wife or whatever. He's like, I'll do
Yeah.
that, and then the next day I'm right back in ketosis because my body's so easily adaptable. So if you can be metabolically flexible, if you can be insulin sensitive instead of insulin resistant, everything changes. You can afford for those exceptions. The problem is when the exception becomes the rule, you're screwed.
I Can we talk about that piece just a little bit? And I do not have your level of expertise or experience or anything like that, but my understanding of the way it works is glucose is the energy that fuels our cells. When we eat food, we get the glucose into the bloodstream, and then the insulin is created to deliver the glucose to all the cells.
Mhm,
So we get that huge glucose spike, we have that huge ramp up in insulin, but there's a limited amount of glucose the cells can take in.
mhm.
So if there's no more room left, they get stored as fat. Is
Yeah.
that so?
Yes. So this isn't again, I've just learned from, I try and learn from the best. That's
Yeah.
all, like I've just kind of absorbed this over the past 2 years when my wife and I become very passionate about this. But again, giving credit to Dr. Bickman, who's become a really good friend, but he is the best at making difficult concepts be simple. And he said, it's like this. When your kids are screaming all day long or knocking on the door, eventually parents just kind of tune it out and you don't hear it
Yeah.
anymore. And so when your cells are constantly flooded with glucose, the insulin's job is to come knock on the door and like release, to lower that. But eventually, if it's just nonstop glucose and nonstop insulin flood, like your cells stop responding. It's just they tune it out. It's white noise. So things stop working. And so when you're insulin resistant, again, this subject is something for you to do a rabbit hole on if you're listening. Dr. Bickman talks about it all the time. But he says almost every single chronic disease that we have today is preventable, and it all stems back to insulin resistance. And if you can fix this, you fix all these issues. So it's a fine line of wearing a tinfoil hat saying like, this will cure all your problems. I'm not saying that. Like,
Yeah.
there are certain things that just happen, you can't explain sometimes. But if you address insulin resistance and become sensitive, all of the symptoms, like again, if you have belly fat that won't budge no matter how hard you try, if you're hungry immediately after you're done eating, if you have hair loss or skin tags or PCOS or ED symptoms, like this is all back to insulin resistance. And then all of the different chronic diseases, type 2 diabetes stems from this. Cancers stem from this. So many things stem from this. And if you just address this one thing, you fix it all. Instead of having to go to 10 different doctors for 10 different things and 10 different pills and 10 different surgeries. But again, going back to my whole point of I'm constantly bashing on big food and big pharma. It's those bad incentives. They don't care about your health. You're the business model. They want you sick, addicted, and stuck because that means money, money, money for them. You always follow the money.
That's true. That's true. Um, well, I feel like I could talk to you for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you'd be willing to come back on in a couple months or not, or what your
Yeah, for
schedule is
sure.
like. But unfortunately, we've got to end this now. But before we do, so what I'm hearing from you, just to summarize, if people want to make small little changes, that'll help. Order of the food, resistance training. It doesn't have to be heavy weights. I would imagine body weight or
hmm
resistance bands or anything like that a couple times a week.
hmm
Is there anything else you would recommend? The fasting. I don't not saying 96 hours, but like 16, 8 hours, sort of window.
And to even simplify that further, I just say stop snacking. That's most people have meals at meal times. Most people wake up and have breakfast and then a snack and then lunch and then a snack and then another coffee or Red Bull or Monster and then dinner and then dessert and then a late night snack. That's the constant spiking.
Yeah.
So if you just skip snacking, that's the best type of fasting you can do. If you want to take it further, yeah, there's definitely other strategies that you can do. There's skip breakfast, go 16-8. And there's studies showing like that you can have the same number of calories and have a much better body composition and metabolism if you just keep it in a shorter window. So instead of spreading it out, you have a shorter window. So yeah, there's lots, but I think you summarized it really well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Joe, I appreciate you coming on very much. How can people get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Now, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X, TikTok, YouTube, all same handle, Yerba Joe Mate. Again, just like Yerba Mate, I love this Yerba Mate. And insert my name, Joe, in the middle. Yerba Joe Mate is where you can find me. And yeah, thank you very much, Derek. This was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on.